Welcome, you're watching Vox News, your daily news updates with Rita Kamkumo. Our headlines today: Facebook closes the accounts belonging to Ugandan government officials accused of seeking to manipulate public opinion ahead of the elections. The Republic of Seychelles begins vaccinating its population against coronavirus, becoming the first African nation to do so. The United States begins the process of establishing a consulate in the disputed Western Sahara region. Our top story today: Facebook has closed numerous accounts and pages belonging to Ugandan government officials ahead of Uganda's parliamentary and presidential elections scheduled for Thursday. The social media giant accused Ugandan authorities of seeking to manipulate public opinion ahead of the vote by using fake and duplicate accounts to impersonate users and boost the popularity of posts, among other accusations. Facebook decided to investigate the matter quickly and to take down the disputed accounts given the impending election in the country. Outgoing President Yoweri Museveni's senior press secretary Don Wanyama, whose Facebook and Instagram accounts have both been shut down, accused the American company of being biased and seeking to influence the upcoming elections. Meanwhile, in Uganda, election observers from the Eastern Africa Standby Force on Monday called for the respect of the rule of law ahead of Thursday's legislative and presidential elections.
We will accept, ESF accepted to come because we know that it's our role to be here today. We'll not leave the people of Uganda and the government alone organizing the elections, because I know that the government of Uganda needs the international observation. And ESF has taken the responsibility to come. I insist on the respect of the rule of law, of the democracy, and the citizenship, and one man for one vote. And I think that the principles which will lead all the process. And we are in confidence that all will be well. But we cannot before say the situation is like this, like that. We're here, but we have to see and to observe, and then in our report, we'll write and we'll report.
The head of the election observer mission to Uganda from the Eastern Africa Standby Force bloc also urged Ugandan presidential candidates and political leaders to maintain respect and tolerance through the election process.
ESF urges the candidates and political leaders to maintain respect and tolerance through the election process, to respect human rights and divergence of views. We call on the law enforcement agencies to carry out their duties in a fair and professional manner without political interference.
The observers' urging came as the run-up to the election has been marred by tension and violence, with opposition candidates arrested, including opposition leader Bobi Wine, who is considered the leading challenger to outgoing Yoweri Museveni, rallies banned, and dozens of protesters killed. In Tanzania, President John Magufuli welcomed his counterpart Filipe Nyusi on Monday as the Mozambican leader arrived in the country for a two-day official visit. The two leaders discussed regional issues, including security challenges in the East Africa region.
We had a very successful discussion with President Magufuli on the development of our two countries, such as economic issues and how to handle COVID-19. We also discussed issues which involve our security, what should be done, what we can do in the integration of African countries, such as the SADC.
The good relationship we have with Mozambique will never be taken away. We have a long history of good relationships, and we are going to keep it like that. So I call upon all my fellow Tanzanians to continue doing business with Mozambique. Let's build our economy, but also make sure we protect our two countries' security.
The meeting between the two heads of state came as jihadist attacks continue to plague the region where their two countries border. On the health front, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa on Monday announced a series of strict measures to fight against coronavirus as the country faces an unprecedented rise in positive cases fueled by a new strain of the virus.
Cabinet has decided that the 20 land ports of entry that are currently open will be closed until the 15th of February for general entry and departure. These include the 6 busiest border posts, the sale of alcohol from retail outlets, and the on-site consumption of alcohol is still not permitted. Health services in several parts of the country reported that the prohibition of alcohol sales had significantly reduced the number of trauma cases seen in our hospitals over the New Year period. There are certain rituals that we perform in line with our respective cultures and traditions, not just at the funeral itself, but also many days before the funeral. But these are all things we simply cannot continue doing.
Ramaphosa also announced the delivery of doses of a coronavirus vaccine for the population during the first half of the year. With more than 1,002,000 COVID-19 cases registered since the beginning of the pandemic, South Africa aims to vaccinate 2/3 of its 57 million inhabitants, hoping to achieve herd immunity by the end of 2021. The Republic of Seychelles became on Sunday the first African nation to start vaccinating its population against COVID-19, with President Wavel Ramkalawan receiving the vaccine made by Chinese pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm in a hospital in the capital Victoria.
I am 57 years old and have taken a lot of vaccines before. It's exactly like all the previous vaccines I have taken, and I am encouraging all Seychellois to please come forward and get vaccinated. Okay, thank you.
With just over 96,000 inhabitants, Seychelles has only registered 581 coronavirus cases and 1 COVID-19 related death since the beginning of the pandemic. The island country, however, hopes to save its vital tourism sector by becoming the first nation to vaccinate its entire population. In Western Sahara, plagued by an ongoing conflict between the Polisario Front and the Kingdom of Morocco, the United States began working on the opening of a consulate in the disputed region after Washington recognized Morocco's sovereignty in the area in exchange for Rabat normalizing ties with Israel. United States Ambassador David Fisher visited the region on Saturday to mark the beginning of work on the diplomatic office.
We are here today together to take President Trump's proclamation and make it a reality by greatly expanding the President's presence of the United States government in the southern provinces. Doesn't that sound better? We have also worked for decades. It seems longer, but decades, with the United Nations as we sought a peaceful resolution for this frozen conflict. And again, last month, President Trump acknowledged the inevitable and stated the obvious. The Sahara is Moroccan, and Morocco has the only just and lasting solution to resolve the fate of this territory.
Morocco is a key partner for regional stability, and our two nations enjoy a broad military-to-military partnership. Morocco is also the only country in Africa with which we have a free trade agreement, which has more than doubled Moroccan exports to the United States since the pact entered into force in 2006. The value of our bilateral trade has grown fivefold in that time. The King's vision is expansive and regional. And just last month, President Trump announced that the United States officially recognizes Morocco's sovereignty over the Western Sahara, and that Israel and Morocco, two of our closest allies, are enhancing their diplomatic ties. These were some of the most consequential developments in the 2 centuries of friendship between the United States and Morocco.
Mr. Schenker is the first American official to visit Western Sahara. This is a very important event. This confirms the results of the phone call between His Highness Mohammed VI and the American President on December 10th.
Morocco became the 3rd Arab state in December last year after the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain to normalize ties with Israel under Washington-brokered deals. Last but not least, on the sports scene, the annual Great Ethiopian Run took place over the weekend in Addis Ababa under coronavirus safety measures, with Abigas Ho sprinting past the finish line first.
I'm happy in competition, happy, and the competition is hard. Training is hard, and competition is good.
This event is special, and for international participants, this event is more than running. It's a carnival. It's a running carnival. It's an event where people are held by police, and it's a very energetic at the start. Everyone wants to sprint. On the race course, there are music stations, and everyone is dancing, cheering. So it's a running carnival.
The race was held 2 months later than planned after being postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic.
And a number of participants was not as we planned. We expect 50,000 participants this year, but because of COVID-19, we could have only 1/4 of the participants.
Because I wore my mask, my record time decreased. Because I'm not breathing sufficiently. There is a difference on my record, but I'm happy.
More than 12,000 people took part in the international 10 kilometers race, which has been held every year without interruption since 2002.
That's it for today. Thank you for watching Vox News.